The Atlanta Hawks are one of the premier young teams in the NBA. They arguably have a top two core. You can argue either them or the New Orleans Pelicans has number one, and there's really no way to go but up for them. Last year, they had the 12th most points per game with 113.3, and the most points allowed at 119, which don't expect that to get any better this year. They had the fastest pace in the league, and that can also be expected to be the same this year. They've got two big names on their team, Trae Young and John Collins. Trae Young's an interesting story. He had an abysmal first half. Shots weren't going in, and it was hard to watch, especially for Hawks fans. But come January, he really picked up his game, and he started dropping 20, 30 points a night. And I think the highlight of his second half was probably the 49-point, 16-assist game against the Chicago Bulls. It was in 4 overtimes, obviously, but that's still impressive nonetheless for a rookie. He was second in assist totals in the entire NBA. I think he had 653, and you can probably expect that to go up this year with better teammates. I mean, they did lose Dwayne Dedmon, but really that's the only key loss. Bazemore started to dip, especially towards the latter half of the season. His shots just weren't falling, and he wasn't really as good a defender as he's been in the past. But they've gotten key additions. I think Allen Crabbe, Chandler Parsons, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, I think all those, they can all shoot. So when the D collapses on Trae, when he drives in, he can just kick it out. I don't know how often that situation will happen, but either way, they've got pretty much 5 shooters on the floor at all times, except for their big man, Bruno Fernando. He will be the backup 5, I assume. I don't know if he can shoot or not. I doubt he can shoot, but with Atlanta's developmental program, Alex Len wasn't shooting threes before he came in, so I guess we'll see what they do with Bruno Fernando. Now, he's got a lot of pluses to his game, but there's one elephant in the room, and that's his defense. He's got to get better. A lot of the times out there, it looked like he was just kind of not giving any effort. He'd get driven by, and he wouldn't even attempt to catch up. He's just kind of standing at the top of the key like, all right, guys, where's the help defense? Or if he needs to, give some help defense, then he's just kind of standing there watching the play happen. You saw that happen a lot this year. And I don't think he'll ever be good on defense. He's small, listed at 6'2", but I don't think he's really 6'2". And he's got, like a 6'2" wingspan? So he doesn't have the physical tools that a lot of other good defenders have, but there needs to be more effort. I think it's like a cat situation. But I think the only thing that we can really ask for him to improve on that'll see results is, get more steals, interrupt the passing lanes more, things like that, I guess. He'll always be a negative defender, I think. He was fringe top 5 or top 5 in steals among rookies for the whole year, so I guess that's a plus. I think he ended up having like 65 this year. It'd be nice to see him get like 1.2, 1.3 steals a game. I mean, I guess that's all we can ask for. And the next big name is John Collins. He had a surprise sophomore season, averaged pretty much 20 and 10 the whole year, which really took me by surprise. He was my most improved player. I understood why Pascal Siakam got it. I think John Collins didn't get it because he's a second-year player, and you see that second-year jump a lot of the time anyway. But he was like +7. Wait, no, it was +9.5 technically to his points per game and +3 for his rebounds. I mean, that's pretty sizable. He's a great offensive rebounder and pretty much rebounder, period. He was number 14 in offensive rebound totals this year as a second-year player. So I hope that he only gets better, and maybe he'll end up in the top 20 in rebound totals, period. He gets 2 assists per game, so at least he's not incapable of passing. I assume a lot of those are getting offensive rebounds and dishing it out to the perimeter and somebody just catch and shoot 3. I assume that's what a lot of that is, but at least he's not like 0.6, 0.5 assists per game. At least he's able to pass the ball. I think with the Hawks system, there's a lot of that anyway. So his assist number should always hover around 2-3 assists. And the highlight of his game is really amazing lob catcher and finisher at the rim. I mean, a lot of the times this year you would see possessions just kind of fall apart, and then you just throw up a lob and you're like, what in the world are they doing? And John Collins comes out of nowhere and just slams it down on somebody's head. And that's pretty much the highlight of his game. And I think having a point guard like Trae Young really unlocked his game. And I think that's part of the reason that his point per game went up by like 9.5 because he's catching lobs from Trey. Dennis Schroeder wasn't tossing lobs, and he was also a rookie. But 6'10" man with, I think he's got like a 32-inch vertical. That's crazy. He'll always be a great lob catcher, and I think Trae Young's probably the perfect point guard for him. Like Trae Young, John Collins also has a lot of positives to his game, but it's not as glaring as Trae, but he needs to improve on defense, especially shot blocking. He had 0.6 blocks per game this year. I'm not saying he needs to be the next Miles Turner or anything. I'm saying he just needs to have the offenses respect him, because I don't think anybody is afraid of driving in on John Collins. He just needs to improve his shot blocking and defensive awareness kind of stuff, and I think he'll be fine. I mean, like maybe 1.5 blocks a game, that'd be totally cool. They didn't draft him for his defense. They drafted him for his offense, and that probably can be said about a lot of the Hawks' recent draft picks, except for DeAndre Hunter. And Cam Reddish has the potential to be a good defender. He's got the tools, I should say. But this team, I think, will be an offensive superpower, but their defense is going to be something to be desired. Another positive about John Collins is he can shoot threes pretty well. He shot 35% on 2.6 a game. That's cool. If he could get it up to 36, 37, 38, that'd be cool. But I'll take 35 on 2.6 attempts. I mean, the defenses respect him. They can't help off of him. So that's all you can really ask for from him. So the expectations for 2020, they're probably going to be top 3 in pace, if not number 1 again. Probably a top 15 offense. And when I say top 15, I mean in points per game. Maybe top 10 if everything goes right. I think they probably have better tools this year the team didn't change all that much, but they probably have better tools to maybe get a top 10 and improve Trae Young and improve John Collins. Hopefully improvements from Huerter and Len. We'll see. Top 10 is possible, I think. Bottom 5 defense, realistically, bottom 3, maybe even the worst one again. We'll have to see what the Hornets pull out. But DeAndre Hunter is their only really actual defender. I don't know about Cam Reddish yet. We'll see. Like I said, he's got the tools. Trae Young and John Collins are possible 2010 candidates. I think John Collins will finally get his 2010, but maybe not, since Cam Reddish is coming in and he's supposed to, at least score a little bit. He'll be off the bench, but still, maybe, we'll see what happens. But I think John Collins can get 2010. I think Trae can also get 2010. I think you'll probably see something more like 20 points and 8 assists, something above or in that range. I think you can see minor improvements on defense from Trae and John. I don't think you're going to see big leaps because it's Trae Young, and John Collins isn't going to become Miles Turner overnight and start getting like 3 blocks a game, but I think we'll see small steps. Now, if we want to talk about the floor or their worst case scenario, I think worst case scenario is probably 11 to 12 seed, worst defense in the league, 16th to 20th on offense, and points per game. Trae doesn't keep up his play from last season and is the exact same on defense. I'm not expecting Trae to come out there and be exactly like he was the second half of the season. I'm expecting kind of a balance, but if he just kind of reverts back to the first half, which I don't think will happen, this is worst case scenario, then Jesus. Rookies perform poorly and no improvement from Leonard Huerter. That's probably worst case scenario. That's a disaster season. At least they'll have another top 10 pick, I guess. Maybe shot at James Wiseman. They need a big desperately. I think a realistic expectation is probably 10 seed, top 15 offense, somewhere in the 12 to 14 range, and a bottom 3 defense. Probably worst, like I've said a million times. I just don't think they're going to be that good defensively. I mean, they're number 1 in pace. They're going to have a good offense, but their defense is just not good at all. Trae will balance out, probably average, like I said, 20 plus points, 8 plus assists, and he'll get steals at a better rate. Maybe he'll get 80 steals this year. Maybe he'll average a steal a game. I think he averaged 0.8 steals, 0.9 steals this year. So maybe he'll get that up to 1.3. I don't know. Either way, maybe he'll get steals more this year. Collins will keep up last year's play, have a 20-10 season, improve shot blocking and 3-point shooting. I don't know by how much. Probably minimal. Probably 0.8 blocks, probably 1 block a game, and probably roughly the same. He'll probably take more threes this year. 3.5 attempts on 36% is probably what I'm going to throw out there. And improvements from Huerter and Len. Improvements from Herter on defense. His shooting is fine. He's a great shooter. I guess he's classified as a sharpshooter. Lynn, he's actually a good three-point shooter too. I think he shot 37% on 2.6 attempts a game. It's roughly the same as Collins. I was surprised when I saw that stat. But maybe he'll improve as a shot blocker as well. He got like 0.9 blocks a game last year. So maybe he'll improve that. And their best case scenario is probably an 8 seed. But I think for this to happen, a lot of things would have to go right for them, and a lot of things would have to go wrong for other teams. And if this happens, they'll probably have a top 10 offense and a bottom 10 defense. That's how you know it's best case scenario. Trey and John Collins both averaging 20-10 plus, as well as improvements on defense. I think that's probably the best you can ask for, as well as Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter performing well. I think Cam Reddish will benefit from having actual shooters on his team, because I think that's a lot of what he suffered from in college. You know, he was the only shooter on the floor half the time. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I think a realistic expectation is 10 seed, you know, like 35 to 40 wins. But I guess we'll see what a 10 seed looks like this year. We never know. The 8 seed might be below 500. You know how the East is. Either way, the Hawks are one of the most exciting young teams in the league, and I personally can't wait to see what they have in store.